Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video, and today we're back with another commentary analysis video where I go over one of my replays, or many of them, and kind of dissect and break down the game, and explain the kind of plays and thought processes that happen as the game goes along. So I did this before with Goblin Giant Sparky Miner, and I did it again more recently with my Clash Royale 2021 20-win challenge replays. Both of those videos had a lot of positive feedback from you guys on the format of the general commentary analysis and kind of overview of the games and my breakdown, and I really appreciate all the positive feedback. It means a lot, and I'm glad to see that you guys like this kind of video, so I will be trying to bring it to you more often. It does also help me to kind of break down my matches and take a look at the more detailed versions of events. A more detailed version of events that kind of go down. In any case, this match is against Minor Balloon Cycle, a pretty popular deck. It hasn't really been too meta, but it's been alive and kind of prominent for a very long time. It kind of resurfaces here and there, especially among Japanese players who are really good at it. So this is going to be, I believe, a 2.9 elixir average cycle deck, and it is generally considered to be one of Xbow's really bad matchups, I would say. One of my friends, Maru, who is arguably one of the best balloon cycle players in the game, who plays this deck, said in his matchup overview that it is roughly 75-25 in favor of balloon cycle, and I tend to agree. I rated it 25-75 for Xbow, as in 75 in their favor, in my matchup tier list, so I'd say it's around there. Of course, there's a lot of outplayability on both sides, but generally speaking, they have a really fast cycle. They have the balloon that can be a really good counter against Xbow. They can minor chip you down, and overall, against a really good player, it can be really hard to deal with. And I know a bunch of you have actually asked about this matchup as well, and how to kind of deal with it with Xbow, especially after the Tesla nerf, which it was nerfed again, with its hit speed being reduced, so it has even less DPS, which is actually kind of a direct nerf against this matchup, where it is going to be more noticeable, I would say. So let's get right into the replay breakdown, and I'll show you guys how I was able to win this. This is, by the way, for my 8th win in a grand challenge, so it's not just against a random player at low trophies or whatever. It's against a decent player in a grand challenge. So yeah, let's take a look at the replay. You'll also notice that I have these kind of dots on the screen that come when I tap. So this is an option that my phone screen recorder has. So I'm experimenting with it in this video. Maybe you can help me point out different things. We'll see. He goes for a miner first play, and I go for archers to catch it. Unfortunately, I don't have my knight in cycle, so I kind of had no choice. But as soon as you see miner, it is possibly going to be this deck. Could be a bunch of things. But yeah, in single elixir, you don't really want to be taking much damage at all, if possible. So these stray barb barrels, definitely don't let them go. Try and use a cycle card for them. Try and catch their miners, or at least respond to them, and don't take much damage, because this matchup kind of comes down to tower damage a lot, especially in triple elixir, where you're going to be spell cycling them a lot of the time. At least that's what I do. But yeah, I go for a knight in the back, he goes for a musketeer in the back, and I believe the general best play is always to fireball these musketeers, especially because that's the lane I want tower damage in, so no complaints fireballing it. And I believe he goes pretty aggressively here, protecting his musketeer with the Ice Golem. Then he goes in with a miner plus balloon. So he does actually predict my Tesla placement, which is pretty well played, but he didn't actually end up going for a snowball in this push, so it doesn't actually do too much. I believe it still gets fully shut down. But in any case, you'll notice that I go with my archers right away and my Tesla. I don't go for a Tesla and then wait and then go for archers reactively. I know that I'm going to need a lot of DPS for this push, especially because he has an Ice Golem as well. So I immediately put my archers down, and this is the Tesla placement that you can use reactively to a balloon. It is 4 tiles down from the river, if you can see there. And I go for my archers in this kind of lower position so that it's not right next to my Tesla. He won't be able to get snowball value and everything if he tries to go for a snowball. So just separating my troops and avoiding giving my opponent spell value. A pretty common fundamental of Xbow Cycle. So this is going to be the standard placement to pull the balloon reactionary again. If you pre-place this, they can bypass it, so watch out for that. But you'll see that the balloon does go over. I go for a log to finish off the musketeer, and it gets a bit close, but I take no death damage, and I'm very happy since I have a fireball and logs worth of damage on his left tower. And he goes for a barb barrel, which I can just ignore, so pretty good spot for me. You'll notice that he doesn't have an Ice Golem in cycle right now, and I knew that because I had a general sense of his cycle. So I actually go in with an Xbow here, and you'll notice that I have Knight in cycle, but I don't bother predicting this bomb tower, and that's because he is actually one card away from Ice Golem. So he had skeletons in hand. He could have just gone for low skeletons, then Ice Golem, then right back to balloon on my Xbow, and if he did that, my Knight would have been completely wasted, and I would have had to respond even further to the balloon, which also would have gotten a bunch of value on my Xbow. So that's why I didn't bother predicting. I just wanted to see what he had. He goes for a bomb tower. It is kind of unfortunate. Here I actually speculate if I should go for a fireball on the bomb tower. I believe it actually would have worked, and I would have gotten a connection, because it would have been a very unexpected play, but also I'm down elixir right now. Xbow for bomb tower is 6 for 4 as it is. If I go for a fireball, it's 10 for 4. That's a huge elixir commitment, and it was just too risky of a play, I would say, with a big benefit, but also a big risk, so not worth going for. And I actually do get a tiny connection, one hit, so that's really good for me. You'll notice that I said I fireball the musketeers, but since this musketeer is opposite lane instead, I'm just going to go for a knight instead of fireballing it, especially because if I fireball it, I still have to log. That's 6 for 4, and given that it's in the lane I don't want damage in, there's no real point to doing that. Now this knight placement worked out really well for me, because you'll see that he goes in pretty aggressively with a miner balloon push, and the knight actually walks up and catches the miner, so really good placement and timing that worked out well for me. I go for a Tesla in the same placement, and archers in the same placement too, to fully shut this down, and archers will also shut down the musketeer with assistance of the knight. It is out of tower range, but that's not a big deal. And again, I have the same situation where he doesn't have balloon in cycle, so I go for an Xbow again. This time, I actually go for an Ice Spirit, predicting his bomb tower, and if he went for a bomb tower, I would have gone for a knight, so I was ready to defend this Xbow. Take note of that compared to the first one. But he does do the right play, which is cycle back to a balloon. But something that's really good that I did here is, one, he goes for a barb barrel opposite lane, which I find really strange. You should have just gone for it on the Xbow. But there is a play that you can make where you kite troops in this area of the map and kite them out of range of your Xbow. That's going to be in this area here. So what I do is I use my skeletons to do exactly that, kite it out of range, and I notice that he plays Ice Golem and skeletons going back to his balloon, and he doesn't have any Ice Golem in cycle right now. So if I was to last minute log this Ice Golem and skeletons, I would actually get a connection, and I recognize that right away, and I go for a log immediately, and as you'll see, it catches my opponent off guard. He's forced to go for a panic bomb tower. That's not obviously in the right position to hit my Xbow, probably because he was panicking and placed it last second, so forced out an additional 4 elixir out of him. And also you'll notice that my archers weren't in cycles. If we just rewind a little bit before that log, right here, you'll see that I go for skeletons to kite the barb barrel out of cycle. I don't go for a knight, by the way, because that's too much of a commitment, considering it's only a barb barrel and I have skeletons in cycle. Way better play to go for skeletons there, just to clear that up. And here, I don't have archers in cycle. I know that he's going to go for a balloon, so this log not only is a good play on his Ice Golem and skeletons, but also helps me cycle back to my archers. So, really good log there. Forces out the bomb tower, and you'll see that my archers are able to just fully take out his balloon. And here is probably my biggest misplay in this match, and I don't think I misplayed other than this, but I knew that, one, he was pretty low in elixir. I was at 6, he was at 5, and he had a bomb tower, but it wasn't even in range of an Xbow, and I had surviving archers, so I was really eager to go in with an Xbow right away, but that balloon's death bomb actually messed up my placement. I had the placement right. My hand was around here, and I was playing it, but it didn't actually work out, because if you guys don't know, if you have a death bomb on the field, it'll actually push the Xbow out of range. Same goes for a cannon cart. If a cannon cart dies and turns into a cannon stage on this kind of area, if you go for an Xbow, it'll actually get pushed far out because it can't collide like that. So my mistake, I should have waited a bit. Although my justification for going in that early is because I really just wanted to go in. I knew I was in a good position and I wanted to capitalize on it, but yeah, kind of unfortunate. This Xbow gets not much value at all, but it does kind of serve as a defensive Xbow, so that is one perspective of looking at it, I guess. I know he's going to go in pretty soon, so I go for a Tesla here. I'm actually not sure what I would have done if he went for a balloon on my Xbow, because I don't think Tesla would have targeted it, and that would have been an interesting play to make, but he didn't. He goes all in the right, and I see a lot of fireball value, so I'm going to take it. I angle my fireball to not push the balloon away from my Tesla, but unfortunately I fail, because I really want to hit everything, so I'm forced to go for, not really panic, but kind of fast reactionary archers and ice spirit right away, to make sure the balloon doesn't get any drops on my tower. Unfortunately, it does get death damage though. But you'll see that the Xbow did kind of help out there, helping with DPSing down the Ice Golem. So it wasn't completely wasted, but definitely a waste for 6 elixir when it got about 2 elixirs worth of value. Here you'll notice that I cycle a log, and log cycle is huge in this matchup. It is one of the only ways you can get damage reliably, so I'm always going to be log cycling when necessary. And I do it right here. So now I go for a defensive Xbow, and I want to explain this placement. I have said it in a bunch of my videos, but just in case you didn't know, if they go for a balloon kind of in this area, it'll obviously get pulled towards an Xbow if you play it here. But normally the standard defensive Xbow placement would be one tile closer to the left, so it would be about here. And what they can actually do is if they play their balloon around this area, I hope you can kind of see with my circle tapping thing on the screen that I was talking about. I'm not sure if I actually explained it, but I am experimenting with this option in my screen recorder. Not sure if you guys will like it more or not. Make sure to let me know what you think, because I could easily do both. I could even do this for a normal gameplay if you want to see like where I'm kind of tapping on the screen and everything, but yeah, if they go for a balloon in this kind of area behind the river, it'll actually bypass an Xbow placed in that placement, which is why I push it one over to the right, so that it denies any kind of bypass. So that's a small kind of feature that I adapted to in any balloon matchup. Not Lavaloon, because you don't really want a defensive Xbow against Lavaloon almost ever. There is one rare instance, but that's a lot to get into. Just don't. But yeah, in Balloon Cycle and Lumberloon matchups, this is the placement that I recommend. They will not be able to bypass it. So, see that it also helps out against his push. And I go for a Fireball again. This time, I did again push it out of range, which is unfortunate. Kind of my fault, but I still stand by that Fireball because he gave me a lot of value and I think it was worth it. I go for skeletons on the miner, then I go for a Tesla right away to pull the balloon far away from my tower. And here you'll see that I have this defensive Xbow still surviving, and he doesn't have Ice Golem and Cycle, so perfect time to go in. I'm going to go in, and he goes for a Musketeer in the back, so just really perfect situation for me. I think his cycle was Barb Barrel, Musketeer, Balloon, and Bomb Tower, so he shouldn't have Barb Barreled into a defensive Xbow, so that was actually his best play, and it was a really good play for my position as well. So really good Xbow based on that situational awareness. I go in and I predict the Bomb Tower with a Knight. I also go for Archers, and you'll see that the Knight actually gets a hit right before this Barbarian pops out of the barrel. So my Xbow locks on, and you also notice that I go for Archers right away to start DPSing down the Balloon as soon as possible so that it doesn't get any death damage on my tower. So really big connection there for a few hundred damage. Now it's kind of an interesting situation because he has a Musketeer miner push, and he didn't actually have Barb Barrel and Cycle, but in a situation like this, you're not really thinking that deeply about Cycle. You're thinking about the best way and most efficient way to defend. So what I did was I went for skeletons like this, because if I went for skeletons right on the musketeer, they obviously would have been better. But if he had barb barrel, it would have been able to, if he predicted, he would have taken out my skeletons and I would have actually lost on the spot, possibly. I would have had to fireball, then I would be down a bunch of elixir, so that's why I placed it there. And tower is targeting on the musketeer. Here you'll see I log the miner back and then retarget it with the ice spirit, so really nice log to retarget the miner. Take note that you can do that. And here I go again with a defensive Xbow, so I actually wasn't sure on the best way to play this matchup before, but after kind of reviewing it, and talking to a few of my top Xbow friends, one of them is called Utah. He's a really good player, and I spectated him for a bit, I believe a couple of seasons ago, and he beat Balloon Cycle, this exact deck, at around 8,000 trophies or so, just really high ladder. And he said it is a very hard matchup. I was telling him how much I dislike it, but he said he believes with Log Cycle and defensive Xbows it is possible. So I used a defensive Xbow before the Xbow rework last year, actually exactly a year ago or so, but I figured after the lifetime nerf it wasn't really worth much anymore, so I didn't really go for it, but I think it is actually worth it in this matchup, so something to take note of. I guess you can do what you want, but I think I will be using more defensive Xbows, especially because I tried it out this time around. Haven't played this deck against this deck at a high level in a while, and they worked out pretty well for me this time, so I think I'm going to stick to them. Here, I really want a fireball again, but I don't. I go for a Tesla instead, and this is the exact setup that you want right here. You have the anti-bypass Xbow and anti-bypass Tesla. Notice that before my Teslas were 4 tiles down. This time, since I'm pre-placing it, it's going to be 3 tiles down instead of 4, so that it can't be bypassed. Just a difference between the tile placements there that you want to remember for this matchup. I have my archers DPSing the balloon down, and Tesla stays alive. So he goes for a miner. I go for skeletons again, not directly on the musketeer, so that it wouldn't be susceptible to anything. Just kind of a habit. And even though he didn't have snowball or barbarrel and cycle at the time, it's just a good habit to have overall. So I didn't play them right on top of the musketeer. I played them kind of in the corner of my tower. And even though, again, it's not necessarily needed for this kind of situation, it's just always good to play in a safe and smart way. So he goes for a miner. I'm going to retarget it with my Ice Spirit. Go for a Knight right away. You definitely want to avoid minor damage if possible in this matchup. Again, like I was saying, it often comes down to Spell Cycle in the end. You're usually not going to get a big connection. In this match, I got one moderate small connection, but no big connections. It's going to be a kind of chipping the opponent out kind of matchup. So take note of that. Always good to Ice Spirit. Have an Ice Spirit and Cycle for the miner so that you can retarget it. But here he goes for a balloon, and I've also said this on the channel a lot, but you might be wondering, what do you do if you have a pre-planted Tesla and they go for a balloon opposite lane? And the answer is just pull it into your Tesla with your Xbow, exactly like I do it here. You can go defensive or offensive, up to you. I go offensive because there's no real difference except for the fact that offensive just adds that much pressure. You'll see that he actually played skeletons here because he wanted to tank from an Xbow, but he even played barb barrel. So if I went defensive, it wouldn't have forced those out at all because he probably wouldn't have even been worried. So just really useful there. Here I go for a Tesla instead of an Xbow, and I go for an offensive Xbow because I thought he might go in the right. In hindsight, this was probably my second mistake in this matchup, and I think I only made 2 mistakes here, so not too upset about them. It is good to learn from your mistakes, and I think I still played pretty well overall. But just in this situation, considering I already had a Tesla and archers down, it makes sense that my opponent didn't want to go in right into this whole defensive setup, so going opposite lane was actually a good play by him, and I shouldn't have gone in. I should have just defensive Xbow'd probably, or just reset and been ready to react if he went offensive. But in any case, I realized that it's a really weird Xbow for me, and I don't defend it at all. I recognize that instead right away that it was a mistake. That's another thing you have to know. if it was a less experienced Xbow player, they might have in this situation tried to fireball the balloon back or defend the Xbow, and that would have been just digging your hole even deeper. This is already kind of a bad Xbow, but if you can recognize that, that's half the battle won. Just move on and try and rectify the situation. And that's what I did. I let it die. I went for skeletons, DPS down the miner, and I went for fireball and archers. The ice spirit might have been a bit much, considering it probably wasn't going to get a drop on my tower, given the archers, but I was just playing it really safe. But now he has a double musketeer, ice golem, and miner setup in the right, and I'm going to have to deal with this. So I log everything back, go for a knight on top of the musketeers, go for skeletons for the miner, and then archers in front of my tower so that the musketeer doesn't lock on. If that musketeer locked onto my tower, I also might have lost. So again, even if you're in a good situation, never let your guard down, because you can lose off a really silly interaction. But here I go for a Tesla, and Ice Spirit for the balloon. Tower, it locks onto the balloon, which is perfect for me. I go for a knight, log again, take note of that play. It's a really nice play, logging the miner back, and if you have the placement right, it actually knocks it back one tile, and that retargeted it from my tower to my knight. And I don't think that gets death damage, it does not. So I go for a Tesla, go for fireball on his tower, and just reset. And that is going to be a win by about 520 HP, I believe. I gave the wow because this matchup I was not expecting to win. Usually when I see it, I get pretty demoralized, honestly, and I'm not happy to see it, but I was really happy about this game. But yeah, that is going to be the analysis for today against Minor Balloon Cycle, so hopefully you kind of understood how I like to play the matchup. Again, I would say this is a pretty bad matchup for Xbow, for sure. It's definitely one that you need to learn, because if you just go offensive Xbows like crazy, you're going to have a bad time. Balloon gets a lot of value. Against a bad player, a bad Minor Balloon player, or not even bad, just less experienced, they might not know that the best play to go on your Xbow is go with an Ice Golem Balloon, and they might go for bomb towers, and if that's the case, protect your Xbows, and you might get a connection. But at the top level, they're going to know the best way to play against Xbow, and they're going to know that offensive balloons and balloons on your Xbows are the best way to go, so you always have to be prepared for that. So I would say, also in this matchup, I pretty much never split my archers. That is another thing that you want to take note of against any kind of balloon matchup. It's something that one of my close friends, Aragon, taught me. I think I told this story a video or two ago, but we were playing the global tourney, and I was going against Lumberloon, and I was kind of losing, even though I recognized it was a really good matchup for me, and I was like, wait, why is this so close? It should be a lot less close. And Aragon told me, why are you splitting your archers? And then I realized I can get a lot more value if I just play them in the same lane and not just cycle them, splitting them. So that's another kind of awareness thing that you have to have with Xbow based on the matchup. It's a good play to cycle some things and not so good to cycle other things. So really nice that Aragon taught me that, and ever since I've taken note of that, I've gotten a lot better against any balloon matchup, so hopefully it helps you guys too. But yeah, just a quick little overview. Play your archers same lane to DPS down their push. Know your Tesla placements against the balloon. Know the best times to go in with an Xbow. In my case, he didn't have any tanks in hand, and didn't have balloon either. So I went in and got a connection the second time, actually. Know when to defend your Xbows and when to let them die. And know the kind of low risk, high reward plays you can make. For example, that one time I got a connection, I went for a log. And it might be weird to go for a log while I have a balloon to worry about, but it actually helped a lot because it forced out a bomb tower. So always a lot to think about. Think a few moves ahead. And also, one last thing, if they go for a really aggressive Ice Golem balloon miner on your Tesla, you are probably going to have to fireball the balloon back. So angle your fireballs correctly. Fireball the balloon away from your tower, away from your Tesla, not towards it. Try and always be aware of that. And that will go a long way. So yeah, that's going to do it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. hope you enjoyed this kind of deep dive into the balloon cycle matchup and analysis of my 8th win in a grand challenge. And also, let me know what you thought about the tap indicator on the screen. Not sure if I'll use it or not, but it is useful to try out, and it's interesting, so let me know if it was helpful, if you'd like to see it in a live game or not. And yeah, just thank you for watching. I'll probably make more commentary videos. I'm probably going to do a ladder one, maybe tomorrow or day after, playing Top 1000 ladder with the newly nerfed Tesla, because I want to test it out, get some experience, and of course explain what I think to you guys as well and share it. But yeah, let me know what you think about the video, about the analysis, any kind of feedback you have, if you enjoyed it, if you learned something, and what matchup you'd like to see next for this analysis series. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.